Hey guys, you are watching your anime world. How are you all? Please support to subscribe this channel for watching new interesting stories. So in this video, we will see second part, what if Deku had two protective psychic older sisters. Here is short summary. As the Prime world ends, another parallel tale takes its first steps. Welcome to a world where Izuku has two older sisters, Tatsumaki and Fubuki. But that's not all that has changed in this world. Strange new things lurk in the shadows, stars and across the ocean. Can Izuku once again become one of the greatest heroes, just like his older sisters? But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible, share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. The entrance exam is close at hand, and her brother has grown leaps and bounds. Like a sponge, Izuku soaked up everything he was taught. All Might honed his physical abilities. Tatsumaki pushed his raw power to its limits, while Fubuki focused on his technique. Not surprisingly, Izuku was very similar to Tatsumaki when it came to mastering new skills. Fubuki was the first to learn telepathy, at least with her sister, and Tatsumaki learned it in a few moments. Izuku did the same in a few minutes. It's not so bad, Fubuki thinks. It makes sense for siblings to have such connected minds. But then Izuku learned new abilities from the comic books he read. Teleportation and psychic reinforcement of objects. Every time she helps train Izuku, she can see him disappearing over the horizon of power, leaving her in the dark, alone and forgotten. But she hasn't taken the step to prevent that. Not yet. But the time to decide was now. Today was the last day, and it was Fubuki's turn to train him. The beach was clean, and Valkyrie was sitting nearby in her child form, watching as she usually does. The sun was dipping across the ocean, bathing the beach in a golden glow. Fubuki. Well, Izuku, I guess today is the last day of training. Izuku. Yes, thank you for everything, Fubuki. Fubuki. I don't have much else to teach you. You're a great student. I'm so proud of you, Izu. Fubuki edges closer to Izuku and places a hand on his cheek. He gives her an innocent, sweet smile. Just a quick peck on the lips and it will be over. He'll thank me later when he's safe from danger. Just do it. Do it before he becomes too strong for it. Do it. But she couldn't. At least, not like this. So she lets him go, turns around, and walks away some paces. Fubuki. Izuku. Since this is the last day, I have something special in mind. Izuku. What is? A blast of psychic force pushed Izuku across the sand. Valkyrie nearly jumped up, ready to protect her big brother. But it was Fubuki's next words that stayed her hands. Fubuki. A graduation test. Prove to me that you're really ready, Izuku. Izuku stood back up to see Fubuki staring at him with determination as rocks floated around her. Izuku. All right, I won't disappoint you, Fubuki. Izuku instantly appeared behind Fubuki in a flash of green and threw a punch at her. But the blow was blocked by a shimmering light blue shield. Fubuki looked back at her brother, and with a glance, expanded the shield, pushing Izuku away. With a flick of her finger, a surge of sand flies toward the younger psychic. Flipping in the air, Izuku summons his own shield to block the assault. Fubuki fully turns to her brother just as he teleports out of the way of the attack. But the sandstorm doesn't abate, it follows him wherever he goes. All according to plan, he teleports near Fubuki and flies towards her, with the storm closing behind. His older sister only smiles and flies upward just when Izuku was about to collide with her. Instead of her, Izuku collides with another stream of sand. Izuku tries to teleport before he's hit from both sides. But for some reason, he can't teleport. That second was all it took for the two storms to collide and engulf him. But that wasn't all. Fubuki. Whistling typhoon. The two colliding sandstorms surged to become a small spherical tornado that emitted a sharp whistle. Fubuki, however, doesn't lower her guard. It's taking more than half her focus to lock her brother's ability to teleport. So it didn't surprise her too much when Izuku cut through the storm with his psychic sword. More like his tie straightened and empowered by his quirk. But that strike also sent a wave of green energy, which Fubuki had to block. This gave Izuku the freedom to teleport to Fubuki and hit her with the broadside of his sword. Shield cracked and flung away. Fubuki looked to see the green flames healing the damage Fubuki did to Izuku. Fubuki. TCH. Izuku flies after her, and Fubuki meets him with another onslaught of sand. The two clashed and flew across the beach like blue and green stars. Valkyrie. Whoa. The older sister did all she could to pin and overwhelm Izuku with sand. But he would cut them all apart or teleport out of the way. Fubuki. He's not even a real hero yet, and he's doing this well. Her breathing was becoming a bit ragged, and her energy reserves were draining. She was never that good at drawn-out fights against aggressive melee fighters. But she had to win this fight. Losing would be too much. So she gave Izuku an opening, which he took, going for a horizontal slash to the midsection. But Fubuki stopped it by psychically grabbing Izuku's sword arm. Within that moment, Fubuki placed her free hand on his side, sending a powerful blast through him. Izuku. The blow was enough to send him crashing into the sand. Sand that quickly deepened, dragging him into the depths. But he wouldn't let it end like that. He expanded his psychic shield, pushing the sand away. But to do that, he had to release some of the energy he put into his tie. That allowed Fubuki to overcome his control. She used telekinesis to grab his tie, removing his greatest weapon. But Izuku used one hand to keep the shield up and another to grab his tie. Before long, Fubuki focused all her attention on the tie, foregoing the quicksand and storm. That means it was down to a tug of war, a direct power comparison. 1. Fubuki was losing. 1. She always lost. Fubuki. No, not again. But why fight so hard? If she wins, Izuku proves he can't survive hero work. But if he wins, it proves without a shadow of a doubt that she has been left behind. The tie slips closer to Izuku. Damned either way, there will be no reason not to seal his powers like psychos. The tie slips closer to Izuku. But as she looks at her brother, she sees his determined gaze that holds the desire to not let his older sister down. To prove he can survive and thrive as a hero. A hero like his sisters. Fubuki. He really looks up to us. Those eyes, full of love and respect. The tie slips closer to Fubuki. Fubuki. I don't want to lose that. The sight of Izuku's eyes filling with pain and betrayal at learning that his beloved sister took his quirk. The same eyes psychos gave her. Fubuki. I don't want to see that. The tie slips closer to Fubuki. It was at that moment she made her choice. To win. The tie slips closer to Fubuki. Not to seal or save her brother, but to hold on to that admiration just a while longer. To stand next to him with pride. Because no one would admire a weak hero. Fubuki. So, I'll win. Her eyes flash a deep blue as her hair stands up in response to her declaration. Sea water erupts as a wave behind Izuku and overshadows his back. Izuku. That moment of confusion was all Fubuki needed to seal the deal. She took the tie and rushed Izuku, who was too late to stop the water from falling on him. What came next was pure instinct. Fubuki was after the tie just to remove its access to her brother. She never learned how to empower objects and turn them into weapons like Izuku. But now, the tie explodes with blue light and transforms into its sword form. As soon as Izuku got up to continue, he saw a psychic sword near his chest. He lost. Fubuki won. Fubuki doesn't notice the feat she pulled off. Instead, her gaze falls on her brother's stunned expression. Izuku. So. Fubuki. Oh no, he doesn't think it'll prevent him from going to the entrance exam because of this, right? Izuku. So cool. Fubuki. Izuku. You're amazing, Fubuki. You even copied my Sai sword. Fubuki. What? Just as she notices the blade in her hand, it falls limp and turns back into a tie. Izuku. That was great, thank you, Fubuki. I think I'm ready for the entrance exam. Fubuki couldn't help but blush at the praise. Fubuki. Don't exaggerate, Izu. I don't even know how I did that. Tatsumaki would have been better for this. Izuku. I don't think so. Fubuki. What, Izuku? Tatsu sometimes forgets to hold back. Fubuki. Haha, I guess. But I do too, sometimes. Izuku. But you won't send me into low orbit. Fubuki. Yeah, because I'm much weaker than her. You'll be the same, eventually. Izuku. But I have to update your hero profile. After seeing it up close, your abilities are truly incredible. Fubuki. I think I said stop exaggerating, Izuku. But he was already in his own little world. Izuku. Your telekinesis control is precise enough to speed up objects without destroying them like Tatsu tends to do. The sand's turning speed and irregular angles were also surprising. It was difficult in a different way than Tatsu's overwhelming amount. Izuku. Then there's her control over water and blocking my teleportation. I didn't expect that. Could Fubuki have more hidden abilities? What's the limit of psychic powers? Why are we so similar but different? Could Fubuki make mental projections? She did learn telepathy on her own. What if? Fubuki tuned out the rest of his mumbling. She heard enough and was speechless. Izuku was talking like Fubuki could grow stronger. That she was better than Tatsumaki at some things. Did she just not work hard enough to improve? No. She knows for a fact that she worked harder than anyone to surpass her sister. She strained her power until she passed out and still kept going. But no matter how much she tried, her power paled in comparison. But that's just it. Her sheer power pales. What about other skills? Yeah, Tatsumaki learned telepathy quickly, but she never went beyond it. Could there be other psychic abilities to learn? Maybe one Fubuki is suited to. Fubuki. Could I have focused on the wrong thing? Can I still grow? She looks down at the tie in her hand and furrows her eyebrows. She almost didn't notice Valkyrie pulling on her shirt. Fubuki. Huh, Valkyrie. Feel better. Fubuki. Maybe. Valkyrie smiled up at her, and Fubuki, for a moment, thought the girl was cute. But she won't lose to the cuteness that easily. Instead, she turns back to the still mumbling Izuku. Fubuki. Izuku. Izuku. Why yes, Fubuki. We should get back home, you're drenched. Izuku. Oh yeah, you're right. I could also use a hot bath. That water was unusually cold. Fubuki. Sorry, Izuku. And no, you don't have to apologize. It was great seeing you in action. Fubuki. Is that so? The three begin their way home. Valkyrie was holding Izuku's hand and even tried sneaking into Fubuki's, but her Oni-chan still isn't ready for that. Fubuki. Izuku, can you lend me some of those comics you've been reading? Izuku. Of course. Should I give some to Tatsu too? Fubuki. No. I don't think she would enjoy them enough to learn anything. Izuku. If you say so. But if you learn any new abilities, be sure to tell me. Fubuki. Sure, anything for you, little brother. She ruffles his hair and smiles. At least for now, Fubuki is hopeful for the future. There's a new path open, one she prays will have a good ending. Today is the day of the entrance exams for UA. Everything was ready, except for one thing. The whole family was at home to wish Izuku good luck and help give Valkyrie a name. Fubuki. I still don't think we should give her our last name, Midoriya, Mom. Inko. But she's family. Fubuki. It will draw too much attention. Even if she's adopted, we don't have paperwork to prove it. Tatsumaki. Just have All Might and Nezu deal with it. Fubuki. We shouldn't bother them for everything. Tatsumaki. HMPH, they're the ones that suggested it. While the ladies discussed things, Valkyrie was on her Oni-chan's lap chewing on some sugar cubes. She didn't much care about the discussion, as long as she gets to go with her brother. If it's really such a problem to ask Nezu or All Might, she'll just ask the cats. Although, they're still a bit upset at her sudden disappearance. But they understood after she explained the situation. For some reason, they seemed so distressed when they learned her master was her brother. Strange. Izuku. Girls, we might be late. The three looked at Izuku, then at each other, then sighed. Tatsumaki. Let's give her a temporary last name. We'll call her Midoriya at home. Fubuki. Fine. Inko. Don't worry, sweetie, We'll get all the paperwork sorted out eventually. Valkyrie. NH. Fubuki. That means you can't mention that you're Izu's little sister. Just a friend for now. Okay. Valkyrie. Okay. Fubuki. Good. Tatsumaki. With that done, what would her first name be? Inko. I have an idea. Inko kneels in front of Valkyrie and smiles. Inko. How about this for your full name? Inko. Kiri Tae Midoriya. The youngest Midoriya widened her eyes before nodding. Kiri. Yes, I love it. Inko. I'm glad. Tatsumaki. So Tae will be her last name at school. At least it's easy to remember. Izuku. Kiri, I like it. Kiri. NH. Fubuki. Okay, you two better hurry. Don't want to be late. Izuku. Right. The two future heroes get off the couch and walk to the door. Their family waves them goodbye as they take their first steps into a new life. Inko. Good luck, you two. Fubuki. Mom, you're crying again. Inko. I can't help it, I'm so proud. Tatsumaki. I'm expecting top scores from both of you. Fubuki. Just do your best, Izu. Izuku. We won't let you down. Kiri. NH. After a final farewell wave, they were off. Izuku. Wua. There was something different about being in front of UA's gate for real. The last time he'd been here, they'd gone through another gate meant for vehicles. He could see the busts of old, famous heroes staring at the path leading up to the beautiful, all-glass main campus building. Some of the more egotistical students probably figured they were getting the royal welcome. Izuku. Ready, Kiri. Kiri. NH. Bakugo. Move aside. He heard a familiar voice behind him and reflexively flinched to the side. Even if the Sandy hadn't tormented him at all the past 10 months, ever since their rather explosive confrontation in their school, old habits died hard. But things were different now. He was much stronger, and more than that, he wasn't alone. Kiri got in front of Izuku and glared at Bakugo. Bakugo. Who are you? Kiri. He's my friend. Bakugo. TCH, you need a little girl to defend you now, Deku. Izuku. Friends protect each other, Kachan. Didn't you do the same when that villain attacked me? The moment replayed in Bakugo's mind. He didn't think. He just kicked Deku out of the way when that sludge creature tried to attack him. But instead of acknowledging it, he just clicked his tongue and walked past them. Izuku only sighed at his former friend's back. Is there really no hope for them? Kiri. Oni. Izuku. I'm fine, I won't let this get me down. Let's go. Izuku stepped forward into the bright future that awaits him. Or rather, he would have if he hadn't been so in a hurry and tripped. Izuku. Oh, but before Kiri could save him from his own bad luck, another girl stepped up. Izuku looked down and noticed that he was floating. He hadn't used his quirk. He really should have in retrospect. He needs to get better at using it instinctively in everyday life. Uraraka. Ah, got you. Are you okay? It's a bad omen to fall on a day like this, you know. I used my quirk to catch you. Sorry. Izuku was going to right himself with his own abilities, but Kiri helped him out of the air. Kiri. Who? Uraraka. Oh, my name is Ochako Uraraka. Sorry if I got in the way of helping your boyfriend, I just acted on instinct. Kiri. NH. Izuku. Wait, she's not my. Uraraka. It was nice meeting you too, good luck. Later. And just like that, the nice girl was gone. Izuku. Kiri, why didn't you correct her? Kiri. You're a boy, and my friend. Izuku. That's not, never mind. Let's hurry, we can't be late. Kiri. NH. Kiri can't explain it, but for some reason, calling her Oni-chan, her boyfriend, felt strange. Not bad, but not good either. Regardless, it's something she'll have to figure out some other time. They have exams to complete. Roughly 10 minutes later, the pair found themselves beside Katsuki in a giant auditorium. Much to Kiri's displeasure, the energy and tension in the room were palpable. It almost felt like a physical force. And then their proctor showed up. Present Mike. For every one of you little listeners, welcome to my show. Everybody say, he. Silence. He shrugged, a massive grin still on his face. Present mic. What a refined response. That's cool too, my little listeners. Time to show you then. I'll present the specifics of today's practical exams. Are you ready? Yeah. Again, he was the only one who shouted. Everyone was just too nervous or fanboying like Izuku. Izuku. It's the voice hero, present mic. Awesome. I listen to his talk show every week. He's so inspirational. I guess all the teachers really are pro-heroes here. Kiri couldn't help but glow at her brother's enthusiasm for heroes. Bakugo. Shut it, and nearly growl at Bakugo's dismissive attitude. But she will keep things civil as long as the boy doesn't attack her brother. Present mic. This is how the test will go, little listeners. You'll all be doing 10-minute long, dry runs, against villains we will be providing. These are mock cityscape battles, so you can bring anything you want with you. After this presentation, you'll be moving to your assigned battlegrounds. Izuku. Consecutive IDs are all assigned to different locations. Izuku mumbled after taking a peek at Bakugo and Kiri's sheets. Bakugo. That's so people from the same school can't just form a group and slay the exam together, huh? Izuku. Probably. That's when Izuku felt a spike of anxiety coming from Kiri. Izuku. Don't worry, Kiri. We're not from the same school, so we're probably going in together. I hope. That didn't help to ease her worries much. Izuku. It will be fine. We're together, even when we're not physically. Right, so it will be fine even if we have to separate for a while. Kiri. Thank you. Bakugo. Why do I have to hear this? Present mic. Each site is full of 3 different types of villains. Every type of enemy is worth a different amount of points, from 1 to 3. And that's your goal, little listeners. You want to use your quirks to destroy or incapacitate as many of these foe villains as possible and rack those points up. He grinned and waved a finger at them, as if chiding a disobedient child. Present mic. And of course, playing a naughty anti-hero is strictly forbidden. No attacking fellow examinees, or else. Bakugo. My kind of test. May I ask a question? A tall, muscular boy stood up with his arm raised high. Present mic agreed and pointed at him, causing a spotlight to shine down. He looked like he moved incredibly stiffly. Whether that was nerves or something else was unknown. He had blue-tinted black hair, combed perfectly, and square-rimmed glasses. He raised his provided sheet of paper and pointed to it. There appear to be no less than 4 foe villains printed on this sheet. If that is a misprint, then is the most prominent school in Japan, UA should be ashamed of such a foolish mistake. We are here as examinees in this place because we wish to be molded into exemplary heroes. Present mic. Okay, good catch, examinee 7111. He then surprised them by letting out a very sinister-sounding chuckle. Present mic. Though perhaps you'll wish you hadn't asked. The last type, the trap card. There is only one of this type of villain at each site, but they're going to rampage in close quarters. If you get caught by it or engage it in combat, you lose every single point you already earned. Even the person who asked the question seemed unable to speak, not even thanking present mic as he collapsed into his seat. Everyone, even Katsuki, had some amount of sweat dripping down the sides of their faces, and their hearts were hammering in their chests. Present mic. That's all from me, little listeners. I'll leave you with our school motto. As the great hero Napoleon Bonaparte once said, true heroism consists of being superior to all the ills of life. Plus ultra. Present mic. Break a leg, everyone. After, sadly, saying goodbye to Kiri, Izuku switched out of his school attire and had equipped his normal workout gear, the green and white tracksuit. Despite all the training, he couldn't help but feel some of the anxiety he'd been trying to hold back set in. Izuku. What if I'm just not good enough? I've only been training for 10 months. Everyone here has been preparing for years. I can't disappoint All Might, Tatsu, Fubuki, and Kiri. A light sheen of sweat had started building on his forehead, and he wiped it away. Izuku. We have no idea how many villains there are. What if I'm too slow and they all get taken out quickly? Looking around in an effort to calm his nerves, he saw a familiar sight. Izuku. It's that girl. The one who talked to me. No girl, aside from family, has ever paid me attention. I should really thank her for earlier. But before he could, someone grabbed his shoulder. Just what do you think you're doing? The intense guy from earlier glared at him. That girl seems to be doing some kind of meditation. Are you hoping to interfere and throw her off her game? He had switched out of his uniform as well into some skin-tight workout clothes, and he ended up being as muscular as Izuku figured he would be. All around, he could hear murmurs. That guy tripped over his own feet at the gate earlier. What a joke. Oh well, one less rival, right? How did such a loser land that white-haired cutie? And he has the nerve to try and chat up another. Well, he shouldn't mind if I shoot my shot with his girl, right? Before Izuku gave into either depression or righteous anger, he felt his negative emotions fade away. Izuku. Kiri. Izuku. I can't let their words stop me. I have to be more confident for my family. No more backing down. Izuku. Or maybe I met her earlier and wanted to try and help. Did you ever think of that? The guy reared back, but Izuku wasn't done. Izuku. And everyone else who was eyeing Kiri, I wouldn't recommend it. As he said that, he unleashed a light psychic pressure that got everyone's attention. Especially those that were talking trash. The display of power in his glowing green eyes was enough to shut them up. But before anything else can happen. Present mic. On start. The exam started. However, everyone froze, question marks appearing over their heads. They were still stunned by Izuku's outburst. Present mic. What are you waiting for? An invitation. The test has started. Run, run. Izuku was the first to burst forward, emerald energy engulfing his body. Izuku. I won't lose. Not here. I won't disappoint All Might or my family. Seeing this, the rest of the group took off. But only one could keep up with Izuku, the intense guy from before. But this wasn't a race, so everyone split off to get some points. For Izuku, it didn't take long for him to find something to fight. A massive robot with a thick wheel as a base and shielded dual Gatlings for arms had crashed straight through a building to his left. Target acquired. Terminate. It aimed its arm, which started spinning ominously. Izuku grabbed it with his telekinesis and lifted it into the air before throwing his arm down, sending the bot crashing into the pavement. The bot sparked before it broke apart and exploded. Izuku. One down. The young Esper raced forward, feet no longer touching the ground. The next enemy he saw was a three-pointer. It looked like a crawling tank with missile launchers on its back. The boy with the belt had his arms behind his head in some strange pose. His belt was lighting up and preparing to fire. But he never got the chance to do anything. Izuku teleported appeared above the bot and sent a force blast directly downward, pulverizing it in the ground below. Izuku. Next. Not giving the blonde boy another look, Izuku teleported directly above the city. He whirled around, searching for more enemies to fight. He saw a group of 5 two-pointers, scorpion-looking bots with vicious-looking stingers, surrounding one of the kids who were making fun of him. Even from this distance it was clear he was trembling. Izuku raced forward, pulling out his tie from his pocket. His emerald power enveloped it, turning it into his Sai sword. He teleported and sliced apart one of the machines. The others immediately zeroed in on him as the bigger target. The stinger on the leader shot forward, and Izuku deflected it with his sword before slashing the air. A sharp green wave of energy shot forward, bisecting two bots. A quick push with his free hand saw the last two blasted into a building and exploding. He was about to take off again when a shaky voice called out. Sorry for making fun of you and your girlfriend earlier. You're a real hero. Thanks. Izuku really wanted to correct him about Kiri, but he shouldn't waste time. Still, a fuzzy feeling enveloped him regarding what he called him. Izuku. He called me a real hero. Izuku. No problem. He flew up again and searched for more people to save. This was what he had always dreamed of. Izuku. I'm doing it. I'm being a hero. He yelled in utter glee, trying to keep from crying in joy. In a darkened room, Toshinori stood before a massive number of panels along with a dozen others. His gaze was focused on his student, and a massive grin was splitting his skeletal face. All Might. That's the way, kid. Another person spoke up. Such a wide battlefield and the time limit bring out the best in them. Another picked up from where he left off. Those who can assess a situation in moments, information gatherers. An image of a punk rock girl with earplug ears jacking into the ground. A squeakier voice continued. Those who will never be late to the party, mobility experts. A video of the intense boy with glasses crashing through a three-pointer with a kick appeared. Those who can cope with any situation, decision makers. An image of a beautiful woman who is creating various items from her body. A female voice piped up, sounding very throaty. And of course, combat experts. The natural-born warriors. This time, there were 3 images. An explosion engulfed one screen before clearing, revealing Katsuki Bakugo standing amongst the shredded husks of half a dozen enemy bots. The next screen showed Izuku, cutting through a bot squadron like a Shinigami was possessing him. Finally, the last screen shows Kiri tearing through several bots with a blank expression. The abilities needed to preserve peace in our cities are judged by the points they earn. The squeaky voice said, "Quite a crop we have this year, huh?" The female said, followed the sound of her licking her lips. All Might. No way to tell yet. This should tell us more. He flipped open the protective casing of a button labeled, Yuruki's switch, and firmly pressed it. Immediately, pandemonium started erupting on the screens as the titanic final villain appeared. It was a behemoth taller than most of the buildings. Dozens of student prospects simply started turning tail and running as the city broke around it, passing by their fallen examinees, who weren't quite able to get away with barely a glance in their directions. People show their true colors when they face the thing. One of the males replied to him. All Might's grin hadn't vanished from watching his pupil, and likely wouldn't for several hours too. All Might. When they have nothing to gain, no, when they have everything to lose, rising to the challenge at those times, is surely the mark of a great hero. Izuku's eyes had grown wide as dust and grit from collapsed buildings surrounded him and his fellow examinees. The only thing saving him from a couple of hours of irritated eyes was his psychic barrier keeping it flowing around him. When it cleared, it revealed the massive green enemy. It had a flat face with a bunch of red eyes and massive hands. It truly was the definition of overwhelming. It was decimating the city in its rampage. All around him, examinees were running for their lives and points. None had forgotten the warning from Present Mike. The intense and incredibly fast boy passed by him with a glance, wondering if maybe the surprisingly powerful boy had been utterly rooted in terror. The glance ended, and he sped past, not bothering to lend him a hand. Izuku stared for a moment longer before making to turn away like the rest. Izuku. Have to avoid the thing and keep earning points. Only that didn't happen. Something made him freeze. A small cry of pain reached his ears. He jerked back and saw the dust settle in front of the amazingly bright girl who'd saved him from a faceplant earlier in the day. Uraraka. It's a bad omen to fall on a day like this, you know. Her bubbly voice rang in his head, contrasting with the look of pain and fear on her face as she tried to pull herself out from underneath a broken slab of concrete. The villain stopped before her and reached for her body. Izuku didn't think. A second ago, he was over 100 meters away, but now he was directly beside her. She gasped, a look of horror flowing over her features as Izuku leapt at the villain's hand, swinging his sword tie and leaving a large gash on its hand. But that wasn't enough. Its other arm came crashing onto Izuku. Uraraka. No, Izuku created a shield in time but was still thrown into another building. With a new target, the behemoth lumbered towards the boy. Uraraka tried even harder to get up, but it was useless. Uraraka. Get away. The blow left Izuku a bit out of it and so he was too slow to teleport away. And so the blow came, and a large explosion rang out. Uraraka. No, but as the smoke cleared, the truth became clear. With a thud, the bot's arm fell onto the ground. Then 2 more explosions echoed out. Cannon shells hammered into the bot, making it stumble back. Uraraka saw a beautiful girl with a good amount of skin showing on top of a nearby building, standing next to an impressive cannon. Then, to her great relief, she saw Izuku in the arms of his girlfriend. Uraraka. Phew. Don't relax just yet. Uraraka looked up to see another girl, this one with ear jacks for ears. Jiro. Name's Kyoka Jiro. She says as she tries to lift up the rumble on Uraraka. Jiro. Okay, this is heavy. Help me out here. Push while I pull. Uraraka. Alright. While Jiro helped Uraraka get away, Izuku was getting himself together. Izuku. Thank you, Kiri. Kiri. I rushed. Here. Izuku. Just in time, but it won't be over until we defeat this thing. Kiri. But, points. Izuku. Maybe, but. He looks to see the machine getting closer to that girl with the cannon. Izuku. We heroes, we save people. That's the most important thing. He could feel the immense joy coming from Kiri from that statement. Kiri. Izuku. Alright, let's go. Izuku grabbed Kiri's hand and teleported right in front of Cannon Girl. Izuku touched the cannon and enveloped it with green energy. Izuku. Fire. The girl nodded and pulled the pen, sending a green cannonball into the bot that exploded in green flames. The force of the blast knocked the bot back some ways, leaving a large dent in its chest. But it wasn't out, not yet. Izuku. Kiri. Izuku grabbed her hand and passed energy to his mental construct. Kiri bursts with fiery green energy. He then twirled her around like a top before throwing her towards the bot's head. 3. Kiri surges power to her right arm and hand. 2. Kiri tightens her fist. 1. Kiri. Smaaaaaash. With a deafening roar, the blow created a hole straight through the head of the behemoth. With one last mechanical screech, the giant fell to the earth. As for Kiri, she was falling from the sky. But she wasn't worried. In a green flash, her beloved big brother caught her in a bridal carry. The two gently floated down as the other 3 girls came to the landing site. Jiro. Whoa, that was awesome. Uraraka. Yeah, you two were great. You were like real a hero. Cannon Girl said with a smile that made Izuku blush a bit. Izuku. Thanks. But we should probably find more bots before. Present Mike. The test is over. Izuku. Darn it. Away from them, a group of examinees was gawking. The intense boy from before was also staring, though his fists were clenched. All around him, the others were talking. What idiots. They lost all their points. The intense boy adjusted his glasses. That's not it. Were they even watching? He looked at the brunette. He jumped in to save that girl. The remaining time, his own safety, even his points. He didn't even hesitate. And the other girls, most likely inspired by his actions, helped him as well. Regardless of the consequences. His fists were almost clenched hard enough to draw blood as he remembered simply passing by other examinees. Of course, if this hadn't been an exam, I would have done the same. He thought as he bit his lip. No, he knew how fake that sounded. They're the real heroes, not him. But that doesn't mean he won't work hard to respect what he saw today. After all, they won't pass. Unless, could it be, if the exam is structured like that, then they. Tatsumaki. You what? Of course, when he came home, he had to tell them what happened. He failed. Fubuki. Calm down, Ua wouldn't reject him for saving someone. That's what a hero is supposed to do. Tatsumaki. They better not, or all. Izuku. Please, don't do anything. The two sisters looked at their usually docile brother with surprise and worry. Kiri. Oni-chan. Izuku. If I failed, then I failed. I can. No, he can't say that right now. Izuku. I can't accept being led into Ua because of family connections. Please, Tatsu, don't do anything. Tatsumaki. Izu. Inko. My boy has really grown up. But, I'm sure it's just a delay. Izuku. It's been 3 days. Fubuki. That's normal, I had to wait that long, if not longer. Izuku. All Might hasn't contacted me either. Hasn't even replied to my texts. Fubuki. Oh, Tatsumaki. Fine, I won't make a fuss with Ua. But I will teach All Might a lesson if he abandoned you. Izuku. Tatsu, please. That's it. When it happened, a knock at the door. Inko. I'll get it. When she got the package, she squealed in joy. Inko. I zoo Izuku. Izuku nearly jumped and clung onto the ceiling like a cat when his mom rushed to him. Inko. It's here. It's really here. In her hand was a letter from UA. Hi. Fubuki breathed a sigh of relief while Tatsumaki gave a huff. Tatsumaki. I knew it. Izuku. It could be a rejection letter. Tatsumaki. Trust me, it's not. Izuku. How do you? Tatsumaki. Trust me. Nodding, he took the envelope and opened it. Instead of a letter, though, a little disc fell onto his palm. The Midoriya family tilted their heads in confusion before the disc lit up. All Might. I am here, as a projection. Izuku. Wah, All Might. I thought this letter was from UA. His mentor was wearing a yellow pinstriped suit, looking every bit the hero everyone knew him as. All Might. It's been a while. Sorry for the radio silence, but there was a whole lot to deliberate on. He bowed to the camera and the family. All Might. My apologies, but I could say nothing until now since we're about to make the official announcement. I'm here in this town for one reason. As of this moment, I am a teacher at UA. Hi. The family, minus the blank Kiri, gaped at the screen. All Might. Midoriya Shonen, Kiri-san, you two scored very well on the written exam, but a goose egg in the practicals means an obvious result. I'm sorry. Izuku's eyes went wide and tears started prickling in them. Fubuki looked away, Inko started crying, and Kiri looked to her brother while Tatsumaki started glowing green with anger. Tatsumaki. Why that, All Might, is what I would say, and if that were the end of the story. The family froze and turned back at the floating screen. All Might. I may have been an entertainer in a past life. Observe. The camera zoomed out, revealing a screen behind All Might. Izuku. The nice girl. Uraraka. Please, that boy in the green tracksuit, the one with curly, dark green hair and freckles. I thought he looked kind of plain at first, but when the test began he started shining like a star. Do you know the one? Uraraka. He was the biggest hero in that entire exam. He saved me and lost all of his points because of it. The same goes for those girls who saved him in turn. Uraraka. It's not fair for them to fail. They're true heroes. So please, I want to give them my points. Please. She had squeezed her eyes shut. Uraraka. Please. All Might turned back to the camera as Izuku stared at her, his heart thudding in his chest and tears licking at the corners of his eyes. All Might. You are more than just your quirk and your strength, Shonen. You have the power to move the hearts of others, as proven by the two young women who came to help you. He crossed his arms in an X in front of his chest with a massive grin on his face. All Might. We were not just looking for combat ability in this exam. Villain points were just one aspect of it, and that trap villain did not take away any points. It was merely worth nothing. All Might. Not only do you keep every point you earned during the examination, but you've earned even more with your heroic actions. A hero course that rejects those who save others and do the right thing could never be called a hero course. All Might. This isn't all for the cameras. Heroics isn't about lip service. In this job, you risk your life and put your money where your mouth is. It's all about turning that lip service into reality. Hero points. He roared, and the video changed to a darkened room where people were holding up scorecards. All Might. They are awarded by a panel of judges and are another fundamental way for UA to evaluate you. The screen changed again, this time to what must have been exam rankings. And right at the top was his own name. No. 1 Izuku Midoriya. Villain points. 52. Hero points. 89. Total. 141. All Might was grinning as broadly as Izuku was gaping. All Might. With such heroic effort, you were even able to slightly edge out your big sister's score. Fubuki. Seriously, Tatsumaki. That's my brother. Inko. Izuku. Izuku was suddenly sandwiched by his mother and big sister. He was trembling. He really did it. He made it and even beat his sister's score. Then looked at the rest of the scores. No. 2 Kiri TAE. Villain points. 67. Hero points. 55. Total. 122. No. 3 Katsuki Bakugo. Villain points. 108. Hero points. 0. Total. 108. No. 4 Eijiro Kirishima. Villain points. 70. Hero points. 35. Total. 105. No. 5 Momo Yaoyorozu. Villain points. 25. Hero points. 65. Total. 90. No. 6 Ochako Uraraka. Villain points. 28. Hero points. 50. Total. 78. No. 7 Itsuka Kendo. Villain points. 36. Hero points. 32. Total. 68. No. 8 Tenya Ida. Villain points. 52. Hero points. 9. Total. 61. No. 9 Fumikage Tokiyami. Villain points. 47. Hero points. 10. Total. 57. No. 10 Kyoka Jiro. Villain points. 15. Hero points. 35. Total. 50. Izuku. So that's their names. Izuku yelled as All Might explained that, for her willingness to give up all her points if it meant he would get in, Uraraka had earned 50 points. All Might. You both pass. All Might said over his shoulder, his back to the camera. He turned around and held his out hand. All Might. Come, Midoriya Shonens. This is your hero academia. Izuku wiped his fresh set of tears away. Izuku. Yes, sir. Kiri. NH. They made it. After all the hard work, Izuku was going to UA, to be a hero. Spring had come, the weather was turning nicer, and the sakura trees were blooming in full. Inko hugged the stuffing out of Izuku and Kiri at the door while Tatsumaki was standing behind her. Inko. I'm so proud of you too. She was holding back tears. Inko. So proud. Tatsumaki. All right, Mom, Izu is starting to turn blue. Inko. Oh, sorry, honey. Izuku. It's okay, Mom. Kiri pats Izuku on the back to get the air back into his lungs. Inko. I wish Fubuki was here to see you off. Tatsumaki. HMPH, I don't know what's with her these days. Always some business to take care of. Izuku. Go easy on her, Tatsu, things happen. Tatsumaki. Yeah, but you getting into UA happens only once. Tatsumaki sighs and looks off into the distance. She is so tempted to drag her little sister here and force out some answers. She's been acting weird ever since Izuku got his acceptance letter. Tatsumaki. Even her psychic energy is off. What is happening, Fubu? Izuku. Well, we're off. Love you, Mom, Tatsu. Kiri. Later, Oni-chan, Okawa-san. Tatsumaki and Inko wave them goodbye before the two new students disappear in a flash of green. Kiri. Big. Izuku. Yeah, it might take us a while to find our class. After an embarrassing amount of searching, the two finally found their class. The class of 1A. Izuku. We finally made it. Let's go. Kiri. NH. He opened the door and was immediately beset by noise. The two stare at the surprising but familiar faces. Ida. Remove your feet from the desk immediately. Such an act disgraces all the wonderful craftsmen who made our furniture and the upperclassmen who have come before us. Kiri. Glasses and Bomber. Izuku. Of course both of them are here. After getting the 3rd degree from Glasses in the exams, he had felt as if they wouldn't get along in the slightest. Bakugo. Huh, what do I care about any of that? What school are you from, you extra? Ida. My name is Tenya Ida. I hail from Some Academy. Bakugo. Some. So, you're a damn elite, huh? I'll have fun crushing you. Ida. CR crushing. You barbarian. Do you truly wish to become a hero? Iida had a little dark blue shadow on his forehead. He then caught sight of Izuku and Kiri and hurried over to them. Ida. We meet again. I'm Izuku. Tenya Iida from Some. I heard. Kiri. I'll still call you Glasses. Ida coughed and straightened out before continuing. Ida. Midoriya. Before the exam began, I completely misjudged you. I wish to offer my sincerest apologies for my words and actions." He gave Izuku a short bow. Izuku was now slightly happy since Iida seemed to have turned over a new leaf. While he wouldn't quite forget the treatment from the exam, if Iida was willing to try to make amends, it can be water under the bridge. Izuku Midoriya. Pleased to meet you, Iida. And this here is Kiri Tae. Kiri. Hello, Iida. Ah yes, you were the other one who figured out the true nature of the exam. Kiri. Izuku. What do you mean? Iida. The hero points. Izuku. We didn't know about it. We actually thought we failed. Iida. Then why? Izuku. Because Uraraka was in trouble. Kiri. Because Izuku was in trouble. Uraraka. And you two were so awesome when you did it. Momo. It was truly heroic. I was moved to help as well. Jiro. And since Momo was going to help, I had to help too. Izuku and Kiri to see the other Uraraka along with the two other girls who helped them. Uraraka. You and Jiro saved me. Thank you so much. And you all got in as well. I was so happy when Present Mike told me. Momo. I have to admit, I couldn't sleep much until the letter came. Jiro. Lucky for me, I didn't attack the big robot. So I slept like a baby. Momo. Lucky. The group, minus Kiri, shared a warm laugh. Iida clenched his teeth a little at the sight. Iida. They're so much better than me. There aren't any words for it. Izuku. I have to thank you all too. Yaoyorozu. Thanks for helping me. Kyoka. Thank you for helping Uraraka out of the rumble. And thank you, Uraraka, for speaking on our behalf. Jiro. No problem. I couldn't just leave her like that. Momo. It was my pleasure. Uraraka. Haha, it was the least I could do. Over in his chair, Katsuki was glaring at the group. Bakugo. That means 2 kids came from our middle school. Little crackles flew from his fists as he clenched them incredibly hard. Bakugo. But that means nothing next to Deku. What happened to him? I knew his quirk was strong when it finally showed up, but he beat me in the exams. Me. And where did he get a girlfriend of all things? It was only the fact that Bakugo had more than doubled Izuku's villain and, therefore, combat score that kept him from literally exploding. Uraraka. I wonder if today's the ceremony. Or is it guidance counselor stuff today? Oh, and the teacher, what will they be like? I'm so anxious, like wow. If you're here to socialize, then go home. They each froze and turned to look outside the classroom. On the floor was a yellow caterpillar. Jiro. What the? Kiri. Large caterpillar. The group was completely taken aback by the strange sight. A friendly quirk beast like the principal, perhaps. No. A second glance later and they realized it was a sleeping bag, and the face staring at them looked decidedly unamused. This is the hero course. A hand snaked out from inside the bag with a pouch, which the long-haired man squeezed empty in a single beep. The group backed up and watched him sit up and toss off the sleeping bag. You mistook me for a caterpillar, and it took you all more than 10 seconds to settle down. Time is precious. You kids are lacking common sense, aren't you? He strode inside while everyone wondered who exactly this was. Even Izuku didn't recognize him. Aizawa. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. Pleased to meet you. He sounded everything but pleased. He reached into his sleeping bag and pulled out a dark blue uniform with red and white stripes. Aizawa. It's a bit sudden, but you all need to put these on and head to the field. Everyone in the class had varying degrees of confusion written on their faces as the man walked right back out. A quirk assessment test. Nearly the entire class repeated Aizawa's words in confusion. Uraraka. But what about the entrance ceremony or the guidance sessions? Aizawa. A waste of time if you want to become heroes. You have very little time here at UA to learn what you need. Our school prides itself on its freestyle system of education, and that applies to the teachers as well. Aizawa ignores their confused looks and leads them to the designated area. Aizawa. The softball throw, the 50-meter dash, consecutive side steps, endurance running, grip strength, the standing long jump, seated toe touches, and sit-ups. You all did these in middle school but were never allowed to use your quirks. It isn't rational, but the Department of Education loves dragging their feet about changing things and creating new standards. He glanced towards the group, lingering on Kiri before deciding on his target. Aizawa. Bakugo, step forward. What was your record with the softball throw in middle school? Bakugo. 95 meters. The past year, roughly, had been hell on him. He pushed himself harder than ever before after Deku had shown him up in school. Aizawa tossed him a ball with a strange little gizmo wrapped tightly to it. Aizawa. Let's see what you can do. Go all out and use your quirk. You're not allowed to step from that circle. Give it all you got. Bakugo. Awesome. I think I'm going to like this class. Katsuki was starting to smirk as he stretched his arms. He wound up before chucking the ball with a roar. Bakugo. Die. A massive explosion accompanied it, and it flew nearly out of sight with smoke rings from the explosion accompanying it. Die. The class collectively thought, utterly puzzled. It landed almost a kilometer away, and Aizawa showed them his reader. 987.3 meters. Aizawa. It's important for us to know your limits. That's the first step in figuring out just what kind of heroes you'll be. The class erupted into various reactions. Wahoo! This is awesome. A literally pink girl with horns and golden eyes in black sclera yelled out. We get to use our quirks right off the bat. Nice. One of the boys, the one with red spiky hair, says out loud. Jiro. Almost a kilometer. Seriously. The pink girl yelled again. This is going to be so much fun. Aizawa. Fun, you say. All of a sudden, a feeling of dread enveloped them. Aizawa was staring at them. His expression hadn't really changed, but there was something about him that made it seem like a bucket of ice had been dropped into their gym uniforms. Aizawa. You've only got 3 years here, and you're thinking about fun. All right then, if you're just here to have fun, then I'm going to make a new rule. The person who scores the lowest in these exams will be judged as hopeless and will be on a one-way train back home before the day is over. Shivers ran through everyone's back. This is no laughing matter. Aizawa brushed his bangs back and had a strange smile on his face, his eyes wide and intense. He looked every bit a madman. Aizawa. Your fates are in our hands. Welcome to the hero course. Uraraka. What? But it's the first day, and we're risking expulsion. That's not fair. Aizawa. Natural disasters, rampaging villains, freak accidents, the world isn't fair, Ochako Uraraka. Calamity is always just around the corner, and heroes are the ones who correct that unfairness. Kiri couldn't help but slightly nod her head. Unlike everyone else here, she knows just how the outside world can be. This is only fair. Aizawa grins again. Aizawa. If you were planning on hanging out for the next 3 years, you're in for a rude awakening, kids. UA will do its best to put you through one hardship after another, because villains and disasters don't discriminate. The only way we can ensure you survive to be splendid heroes is by ensuring you are the strongest, so bring it on. That's plus ultra. Ida. Trial by fire, huh. Izuku. We fought and bled to get here, sensei. We're not going home without a fight. The rest of the class was looking determined, bolstered by his words. Kiri smiles at her big brother. He really is coming into his own. Aizawa. Good to hear. The demonstration is over, so let's get it on. First up is the 50-meter dash. He turned and led them over to the tracks. Aizawa. They dispelled the aura of fear I created. Now they're all determined to pass. These kids are good. The dashes were done in groups of 2, 1 per lane. Aizawa called up the first 2 competitors. Aizawa. Mina Ishido and Kiri Tae, step up. The 2 stepped up to the speed lanes. Mina. I'm not going to lose. Kiri looked back at Izuku, who gave her 2 thumbs up and a smile. She's almost thankful for her smaller form. She can't use her full power and upstage everyone, risking alienating her and her Oni-chan. But more than that, this smaller form means she doesn't have to hold back. Something she never quite got the hang of. Her best in this form shouldn't be too far removed from the rest of the kids. Everything should be fine. She turns back around and gets into a running position alongside Mina. The robot the school was using to record results fired off the starting gun, and they were off. Mina was basically skating on the track with a really slick acid. It enabled her to go pretty quick, but not as fast as Kiri, who was running normally. Mina, 4.92 seconds. Kiri, 2.80 seconds. Mina, man, and she didn't even break a sweat. Did she even use her quirk? Kiri went back to Izuku and gave him her best smile. Izuku, way to go, Kiri. Your physical enchantment quirk is really amazing. Thankfully, that got everyone to turn back to the tests. Physical enchantment quirk, checks out. The next group was Katsuki Bakugo and Tsuyu Asui. Katsuki used his explosive quirk basically like an afterburner. How he didn't just fall over was a mystery. He finished the race in 3.13 seconds, with Tsuyu displaying some incredible leaping ability and finishing in 5.58 seconds. Bakugo looked back at Tae and Deku before clenching his fist. Bakugo, I have to do better. Next up was Jiro and Iida. Iida pulled up his pant legs, revealing a thicker than normal set of calves, which quickly grew 6 pipes on each leg. He also rolled up his sleeves, and 2 larger pipes grew on his elbows. Jiro knew she wasn't winning this but still put up a decent fight. Iida, 2.34 seconds. Jiro, 7.50 seconds. Izuku, awesome job, Iida. Izuku hesitantly offered the boy a high five, which Iida happily returned. Iida, thank you, Midoriya. I'm quite eager to see how you'll do. Iida replied while sipping from his bottle, but his eyes were on Kiri. Her speed was unreal and is comparable to his. But unlike his, she didn't need to recharge. Iida, she really is something. Next was Kaminari and Tokiyami. This was more of a physical test than a quirk test for them. Their quirks just weren't suited for it, and because of that, their times were around average. Kaminari, 6.26 seconds. Tokiyami, 6.60 seconds. Next up was Eijiro Kirishima, the red-haired, boisterous fourth-place competitor in the entrance exam who only missed taking home the bronze by a few points. He has a highly fit body and so has the potential to win against some of the students here. But he's against Izuku. The little phoenix thought about teleporting but decided against it. Izuku, that would be unfair and not a true test of my speed. So instead, Izuku floated up and prepared for takeoff. Needless to say, the flyer won. Izuku, 3.10 seconds. Kirishima, 4.30 seconds. Bakugo, he beat me, again. It took all Bakugo had to stop himself from doing something stupid. It won't solve anything, and he knows he'll reclaim his spot at the top soon enough. Next was Hantashiro and Mezzo Shoji at the starting line. Despite Mezzo's athleticism, Shiro's tape quirk, allowing him to reel himself forward, gave him the win. Shiro, 4.52 seconds. Shoji, 5.67 seconds. The last race had everyone a bit excited. Due to the odd number, this was a three-way between Momo, Uraraka, and Shoto Todoroki. The latter of whom got in due to recommendation. Something Momo could have done as well but decided to do it the proper way. To prove she could do it without the recommendation. But don't let that fool you, she is worth every inch of that recommendation. Despite the stiff competition, Momo's creativity won her the day. But at the cost of some of the boys' noses to bleed. Momo unzipped her top, shrugging it off to reveal a very mature physique. Her black started glowing a rainbow of colors, and when it cleared, she instead was wearing bandages that were tightly wrapping her chest. Her shoes also glowed and turned into perfectly fitted skates. Finally, a small glow from each hand had 2 small tubes grow from her skin. The gun sounded, and the 2 top students were off, leaving poor Uraraka behind. Shoto used his ice to skate across the field, but that only helped Momo. Using her current momentum, she unveiled the 2 tubes from before. It turns out they were rocket boosters. The result? She left a trail of smoke behind her and sped far past the finish line before the fuel ran out. Jiro, crazy. Mina, amazing. When Momo came back, she had a bit of a sheepish look on her face. Momo, Sorry everyone. I used a bit too much. Aizawa. Perhaps, but you also took first place. Shoto. 2.39 seconds. Uraraka. 5.80 seconds. Momo. 2.22 seconds. Momo smiled proudly while Iida clenched a trembling fist before him. Iida. Second in my own event. How shameful. Izuku. Way to go, Yaoyorozu-san. Kiri. NH. Momo. Thank you. I didn't actually expect to get first place, though. The first set of exams was over, and so the group headed to the next locale, the gym. Along the way, Izuku asked Momo a question. Izuku. Yaoyorozu-san. May I ask about your quirk? I have to say again, you were amazing back there. She smiled brightly at him. Momo. Thank you Midoriya-san, though I must say the same. I'm quite curious about your own quirk as well. My quirk is named Creation. Using my body's fat cells as a building block, I can create any non-living thing as long as I know and understand its molecular structure. Izuku. Holy, you must be a genius, Yaoyorozu-san. That must have been a difficult compound to memorize. She grew slightly pink at the acknowledgement of her immense efforts. Momo. Thank you, Midoriya-san. Additionally, as long as it doesn't stop touching some part of my body, I can further alter anything I create. That was why I was able to change into those chest bindings but not the UA track suit. It does take a bit longer to do so and requires more concentration, despite the benefits. The second I let go of them or they stop touching my skin, whatever I create becomes a permanent object. Izuku. Can you bring your creations back into your body when you don't need them anymore? That way you regain some of your stores. Momo blinked, putting a finger to her lip and biting it lightly. She didn't even notice Izuku turn pink at the cute action. Momo. You know, I've never actually tried. I will do so promptly. Thank you for the idea, Midoriya-san. She gave him a warm smile, and he turned red, starting to stammer. She giggled in response, finding it a bit endearing. However, this little interaction made a certain someone feel a bit strange. Kiri began tugging on Izuku's shirt while staring at him. Izuku. What is it, Kiri? Momo noticed right away and giggled. Momo. I think your girlfriend might be a bit jealous. Forgive me, Kiri, if I overstepped. Izuku. Wait, Kiri isn't my girlfriend, she's. Kiri. I'm not. Izuku turned to her and could see the sudden sadness in her eyes. Then he felt the stares. It was at this moment he knew, he ed up. Kaminari. Dude, not cool. Kirishima. Not manly at all. Momo. You shouldn't play with a girl's feelings, Midoriya-san. And just like that, Momo's smile turned upside down. Izuku. No wait, never mind. Deciding not to dig the hole any deeper, he kept his mouth shut. Izuku. I have to clear this misunderstanding up and soon. But that soon won't be now, since the next tests are about to begin. Grip tests. Not much of note happened here, since most of the students got decent scores at best and awful scores at worst. The standout, again, was Momo. She completely blew everyone away by creating a functioning jaws of life and getting an error reading. It took her a few minutes of reading from a large book she carried with her and quite a bit of concentration before she was ready to create it. Once she did, it took her a few seconds at best and worked perfectly. As for Bakugo and Kiri, they broke their measurement devices, leaving their score for this test blank. But considering Kiri broke it instead of blowing it up, it was clear she was the strongest one here. Kaminari. Dude, for your sake, I wouldn't make that girl mad or jealous. Izuku could only slap his forehead at the misunderstanding. The next test was a fun one, the standing long jump. At this point the class had done away with alphabetical order and were merely taking turns and trying their best. A clear chasm was forming between the top and bottom of the class. It was clear that some of them didn't have suitable quirks for these types of situations. Sadly, Jiro had ranked last in every single test so far. Momo tried to cheer her up, but it was looking bleak. The threat of expulsion was hanging heavy on everyone, but mostly her. The next test was the softball pitch, which Katsuki threw a fit over not being able to try again on, as he felt he still could have done better. The standout this time was Uraraka, who got infinity due to her quirk, zero gravity. Kaminari. She got infinity. How can anyone else get first place now? She automatically wins everything with a score like that, right? Aizawa. No, when calculations are done, I'll just give her a meter more than Yaoyorozu. Yeah, Momo shot her ball out of a cannon. If not for Uraraka, she would have topped the charts, again. The day finished quickly after that. The last test was a marathon run, which Kiri crushed, despite Momo using a bike and Ida being a living engine. She just never got tired. The rest of the tests only confirmed what they already had established, the pecking order. Aizawa. It would be a waste of time to explain how everything was calculated since it was only your performances recorded. Let's just get to the final rankings. Aizawa clicked a button on his device, and a holographic screen popped up. The top 5 were obvious. 1. Momo Yaoyorozu. 2. Kiri Tae. 3. Izuku Midoriya. 4. Shoto Todoroki. 5. Katsuki Bakugo. 5th. Forget first place. I didn't even get second. Deku beat me. The explosive teen was boiling mad, and the only reason he didn't let off some steam was that he was sure Aizawa would punish him for it. The rest of the results spoke for themselves. 6. Tenya Ida. 7. Fumikage Tokiyami. 8. Mezzo Shoji. 9. Eijiro Kirishima. 10. Ochako Uraraka. 11. Mina Ishido. 12. Tsuyu Asui. 13. Denki Kaminari. 14. Honta Siro. 15. Kyoka Jiro. Yep. Dead last. Jiro. No. Momo. Kyoka. Aizawa. Oh, by the way, I was lying about expelling someone. Everyone was floored by the admission. Aizawa. It was just a rational deception to get you to perform your best. What? Jiro. Yes. Momo breathed a sigh of relief. She was pretty sure it was a ruse but didn't want to get her best friend's hopes up in case she was wrong. Momo. Thank goodness I was right. But not everyone was celebrating. No, one person saw through the teacher. Kiri. Lair. Silence. A cold silence overtook the area. Aizawa. Come again. Kiri. We are going to be heroes. It's a dangerous job with no second chances. Ua is supposed to prepare us for that. So. Her usually blank expression hardened for a split second, but it was enough to make Aizawa's hair stand on end. Kiri. Don't coddle us. We deserve the truth. Izuku. Kiri, what are you? Aizawa. Haha, fine. Have it your way. He opened his eyes and rooted Jiro to the ground, paralyzed with fear. Jiro. Momo. Kyoka. Aizawa. I was not lying about someone being expelled. In my time here, I've expelled 154 students. Last semester I expelled my entire class in just under 2 weeks. Momo's eyes went wide, but she didn't take a step back. Instead, she grabbed Jiro's hand, hoping for the best. That maybe, this is just a warning. Aizawa. Understand this. The only reason you are not going home today is that I see a meager amount of potential in you. Yes, you weren't suited for these tests. You may think it's unfair, but life rarely is. So, if I thought you had no prospects at all, I would have cut you loose immediately. There is nothing crueler than letting someone chase around a half-baked dream. The entire class was shivering under his words, which doubled when he addressed them all. Aizawa. And that goes for each and every one of you. If I feel you're slacking off and not being serious about your position here, I won't hesitate to kick you out. He turned back to Jiro. Aizawa. You need to work harder on your fitness. Your quirk will mean nothing if you're caught by a villain or expect a civilian to do half the work when saving them. Jiro's mind returns back to when she tried to save Uraraka. She did not have the strength to save her alone and needed the one in danger to pitch in. If the others weren't there, what would she have done? Jiro. I understand. Aizawa didn't respond and instead turned back to everyone else. Aizawa. Any questions? And no sensei. The droning from his students sounded at him. Aizawa. Good. Have a good day and be prepared for tomorrow. If you thought today was hard, you won't be ready in the slightest for tomorrow's trials. He whirled around and walked away without a look back. Several people had lost feeling in their legs and slumped to the floor, hearts racing and adrenaline pumping. Most affected, of course, was Jiro. Momo. Kyoka, are you all right? Jiro. Why yeah, just, give me a second to collect myself. Momo helped her best friend regain her footing. Izuku looked on with worry, wanting to help, to comfort them in some way. But it wasn't his place right now. Izuku knew Kiri was right to do what she did. She, more than almost anyone, knows how dangerous the hero world can be. Izuku. Still, I can't help but feel sorry for Jiro. I can only hope this spurs her on to improve even more. Except for a few who weren't affected by the speech and left quickly, it was a much subdued group that finally made it back to 1A. The next day, Izuku awoke with the feeling of something warm and alive on top of him. His sleepy eyes fluttered open to find Kiri lying on his chest, her smaller body rising and falling gently alongside each breath he took. They resembled an otter parent and child pair lazing atop each other, her little fists clutching his pajama shirt tight while she dozed peacefully. A lock of his dark hair drifted near her mouth, and she began to chew on it, even drooling a little. However, there's a problem. Kiri. NMU. This is his room, and she shouldn't be here. Izuku fought down his blush and beeped in his panic. Izuku. Did she sleepwalk? Glancing at his bedside clock, he noticed it was almost time to get up and get ready for school. The boy tried to gently slide her off without waking her up. Ironically, his actions had the opposite effect when she held on tighter the moment she felt her bed shifting. With no choice, Izuku prodded at her cheek tenderly, careful not to startle her. Izuku. Kiri. NN. The little girl let out a small yawn. Kiri. Ni-chan. Izuku. Why yeah, it's me. What are you doing here? Kiri. Wanted to be close to you. Izuku. But, we can't sleep in the same bed. You should have stayed in your room. Did you sleepwalk? Kiri. No, I couldn't sleep, until I was with you. She looked at him with such innocent eyes, dispelling any worries of other thoughts. But still, this can't go on. Izuku shifted their positions so they were sitting cross-legged across from each other. Izuku. Kiri, we have to clear up the misunderstanding at school. Kiri. What misunderstanding? Izuku. That you're my girlfriend. Kiri. But I'm a girl, and you're my friend. Izuku. Yes, but a girlfriend is something different. It's only for couples. Kiri. Couples. Izuku. Why yes, those who love each other. Kiri. But, I do love you. Izuku couldn't help but blush a bit from that. Sure, he sees Kiri as a little sister, but she's still a cute girl. Hearing that from a cute girl would of course get a reaction. A reaction that made Kiri feel strange again. More good this time. Izuku. I know you do, but that's familial love, not romantic. Kiri. What's the difference? Izuku. One is for your family, and the other is for someone you intend to marry. Kiri. Can't we get married? Izuku. What? No. Kiri. Why? Izuku. Because you're like my sister. Siblings can't get married. Kiri. Why not? Izuku. Because. The more he thought on it, the more the reasons don't work in this case. Kiri is a mental construct, so the genetic argument doesn't work. But still, he shouldn't see her that way. If Kiri is okay, then maybe. Izuku shakes his head violently, banishing those bad thoughts. Izuku. Look, Kiri, we just can't. Please, just tell everyone we're just friends. Not girlfriend and boyfriend. Can you do that for me? Kiri. Okay. He can tell she still doesn't really get it, but this will have to do for now. Izuku. Good, now we have to get ready for school. We can't be late. Kiri. After running to school, because they were almost late and for exercise, the duo got breakfast and then attended their first class. Present Mike. All right, class. Tell me where the mistake is in the English sentence. Who knows the answer? Everybody, hands up and raise them high. So normal. The whole class shared the same sentiment. Some students were dozing off, like Mina, or even sleeping, like Kiri. She didn't see much reason to learn this stuff after all. The only one who seemed to be enjoying himself was Izuku. After that though, the class was allowed to gather at the grand mess hall. The group was pretty big, nearly the whole class was together. Much to Izuku's delight, he was welcomed with open arms. Izuku. I never expected to get this many friends, all at once. They group shared their names, the basics of their quirks, and complaints about schoolwork. You know, normal school life. That did, however, leave little time to clear up the Kiri misunderstanding. Regardless, that normalcy was coming to an end, for a special teacher was coming in for their next class. All Might. I am here. Everyone's heads perked, and wide grins split their faces at the welcome surprise. All Might. Coming through the door like a normal person. We have All Might as a teacher. The class erupted in excitement as All Might walked in, resplendent in his Silver Age costume. Mina. Whoa, his style is so different. I swear I'm hearing a theme song right now. Jiro. You're not the only one. All Might proceeded to chew the scenery right up as he heroically made his way to the podium and put his fists on his hips. All Might. I will be teaching fundamental heroics. In this subject, we will be putting all of you through your paces so that you can learn the basics of being a hero. We'll be here quite often. This class and its subsequent advanced versions will have the most units per semester. He seemed to flex, and somehow managed to make a card appear in his hand. All Might. So let's get right into it. Your first class shall be combat training. The card had the word battle written on it. Bakugo. Combat. He was grinning broadly, beyond excited. With this, he could prove once and for all who's on top. All Might. And for that you need these. All Might clicked a button and several panels popped out of the wall to the far side of the room. Each of them had 5 containers labeled from 1 to 15. All Might. In accordance with the quirk registry as well as your own written requests, here are your costumes. Nearly the whole class shouted in glee. They couldn't wait to see how all of them had turned out. All Might. That's right. After you change, meet me at ground beta. All Might stood alone now, fists again on his hips as he waited for his students to start coming through the tunnel into ground beta. His grin widened as he started picking up on faint footsteps before the first of them broke into the light. All Might. They say the costume makes the hero, young ladies and gentlemen. He eyed each of them and liked what he saw with most of the costumes. All Might. Be proud. From this moment on, you are heroes. Behind the rest of the class, Izuku and Kiri were the last ones walking out of the tunnel. He had gotten a little lost in a memory when he and Kiri first put on their costume. It was the night before his first day at UA, and the family had just finished dinner. After cleaning up, Inko pulled him and Kiri aside with a brilliant smile on her face. Inko. Me and Fubuki have a surprise for you. Right, Fubuki. Fubuki was pretty silent throughout dinner, but hearing her name finally brought her back to reality. Fubuki. Oh, yes. I almost forgot. Stay here, Izu. Fubuki nearly ran out the door. Izuku. What is it? Tatsumaki. Something we made for when you were accepted into UA. Inko. Fubuki was the one who came up with the idea and even paid for it. Tatsu and I helped design it. But we did take a peek into your hero journals for inspirations. Before Izuku could wonder what they made, Fubuki came back with 2 large metal suitcases. She floated them in with her quirk and laid them on the couch. Fubuki. I really hope you two like it. I spared no expense. Izuku and Kiri got on their knees and opened the suitcases. Their eyes widened at the gift. Tatsumaki. You're heroes now, you have to look the part. Izuku beamed a brilliant grin, which brought joy to those that saw it. Izuku. Thank you, for everything. Uraraka. Whoa, you two look amazing. The gleeful cry from Ochako drew all of their attention, and several more exclamations rang out. Mina. Wow, matching outfits. So cute. Mina's voice rang out as she started excitedly running around them, checking out every angle. Momo. Quite cool. I like it a lot. Momo smiled at him specifically, getting another luminescent blush from the shy boy. Izuku. Thank you. Denki. Geez, looking at him makes my costume look like a crappy cosplay. I'm a bit intimidated. Kaminari complained in good humor. He was wearing clothes that wouldn't have looked out of place at a rock concert. They looked like regular clothes. Bakugo. TCH. Izuku's full costume looked to be in a similar style to the one All Might was wearing. It was a full bodysuit and had a green cape, but that was where the similarities ended. Rather than spandex, it was a combat bodysuit similar to those really old space-themed video games from the previous century like Crisis or Mass Effect. It was primarily black, but there were some green accents woven in through the suit. The gloves and boots were bright green, as was the cape and the shoulders, running down to his arms. A bright green bird of prey was emblazoned on his chest. Finally, an emerald sash rested on his hips for his sai blade. As for Kiri, her outfit was much the same, except her primary color was white with light green accents. She had no cape but instead had a gladiator helmet with silver wings. A helmet worthy of a Valkyrie. Together, they contrast but somehow still complement each other well. Mina. Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I had a boyfriend I could have matching costumes with. Kiri. NH. Izuku. But, All Might. Alright, my young heroes, it is time to get started. All Might interrupted the socializing since he couldn't stay in his hero form for too long. Ida. Sensei, this is the same site we used for our entrance exams. Will we be doing cityscape maneuvers again? All Might. Close. What we'll be doing will involve indoor combat scenarios and outdoor survival. All Might. You must be able to adapt to both scenarios as they come up. To that end, we have come up with a new combat exercise that suits the number of students. Suyu. So no basic training. All Might. Practical experience will teach you that. The distinction here is that you won't be fighting disposable robots but each other. Some were surprised by the news while others were thrilled. Izuku could feel the burning glare aimed at him. He dared to send one back at his longtime bully and former friend. They stared at each other as the fire of their past itches to ignite into a frenzy. But All Might cuts in first. All Might. My young heroes, prepare for the 5v5v5 combat and survival trial. Pick a card out of here to determine your teams. One by one, everyone picked a card from the black box All Might had. In the end, everyone had either a green, red, or white card. Before the questions could bombard him, All Might explained. All Might. Reds will be the villains, greens the heroes and whites the civilians. All Might. Villains need to capture all civilians while protecting their bomb at base camp. All Might. Heroes need to save all civilians and bring them back to base camp while capturing the enemy bomb. You can ignore the villains and focus on those objectives, but that will lose you points. The villains will still be at large in this case. Momo. That means in order to get high marks. Uraraka. We have to save the civilians, bring them back to base safe, capture the bombs and beat the villains. All Might. Yes, hero work is rarely easy, and the odds are often stacked against you. This is a lesson you must learn early. That's putting it lightly. The villain team is stacked. Villains: Bakugo, Ida, Shoto, Mina, and Kiri. Izuku looked at his little sister, and she at him. Hero: Izuku, Uraraka, Shiro, Hiroshima, and Momo. Kiri: Oni. Izuku: It's all right, Kiri. It's just training. Kiri: But I don't want to fight you. Izuku: You have to. Kiri: But, Izuku, don't go easy on Kiri. Think of it like how Fubuki fought me. This will help us become even better heroes. Kiri: Are you sure? Izuku: Yes, even if we're on opposite sides now, we'll still be together, improving as heroes. Kiri: NH. Kiri nods, and her worry dissipates. But Izuku can still feel she'll try to avoid him. It's probably for the best, because he knows who he'll face during this. If Bakugo's maddening grin was anything to go by. Jiro: Okay, That's all good and all. But what should the civilians be doing? Civilians. Jiro, Shoji, Denki, Tokiyami, and Tsuyu. All Might. Survival is a skill every hero must know. Your task is to evade the villains as long as possible until the heroes arrive. Denki looks to Ida and Kiri before sighing. Denki. We're doomed. All Might. Go to your assigned areas in the city, my young heroes. When you see the flare, the trial will begin. Izuku takes a deep breath before taking a step towards his first major battle. I want to say thank you for reading, following, and reviewing this story. It motivated me to use my holiday time to bring you another batch of chapters. Sad about my other story, it seems to be falling into obscurity. I'll focus on this since it's what the people want. Now, I want to say that I don't plan to have Kiri x Izuku happen. I'm tempted, but I don't think Izuku would go for it. Still, I think I played with the idea too much. Even I'm starting to get annoyed by the misunderstanding. I will break the it after this battle so the real ship can begin. As for Kiri's feelings on the matter, we'll see. On another note, after doing more detailed outlines for later arcs, I'm starting to regret including the Phoenix. The more I write and plan, the more I want to focus on the ground level of the hero society. Much of it will expand and explore the themes that the original story covered. But that means the Phoenix has been bent to fit that, which is difficult. Primordial Vortex, you had the right idea not involving the actual cosmic entity. But that's life, I'll figure it out and give you a story that can stand proudly next to the original. That's if life doesn't decide to bend me over a counter again. Until next time, to be continued. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.